Lunchtime is over.
What's that?
Your keys, man.
I see you've played knifey spoony before. Hey!
What's up, everyone? It's Adam from FWCI, and we just had the penultimate episode of Ted Lasso Season 3, Episode 11, Mum City, and that means there's only one episode left of the season, possibly of the entire series. So I want to talk about 10 things that I want to get answered in the Ted Lasso series finale, possibly. I hope you've all enjoyed my Ted Lasso reactions. If you haven't subscribed, please do. It certainly helps the channel a lot. And there's plenty of other content coming up in the future, including more Ted Lasso, even after the season has finished. So there will be more. Make sure you check it out. Let's talk about some stuff that we want to happen in episode 12 of this season. I'm going to go through 10 different questions here in detail, but my honorable mentions is, first of all, let's sort of see what we know. Like, at the moment, it's looking like Ted is going to go back to the USA, especially based at the end of the last episode, and it looks like Nate is definitely coming back to Richmond. So those are things that we can kind of expect to be rounded out in the final episode, I'd say. But are we going to see Dr. Sharon again? I mean, we haven't seen her for this entire season. I feel like she was an important part of the show, and Ted still talks to her, but we haven't seen Dr. Sharon, and I hope we get another appearance from her in the final episode. And what's going to happen with Ms. Bowen, or Leanne, we've learned her name is, the school teacher who was getting close with Roy Kent. I think she's a great character, and I kind of want her to find somebody. In fact, I kind of ship all of the single women in this series with one of the players. Maybe she can end up with Richard. But let's get into the proper list. Number 10, the fate of May's pub.
Your pub is wonderful. It's nothing like that Irish place in Topeka.
I'll take your word for it.
This is something I don't know many people are really talking about, but I feel like they've really made a point about how long May has owned the pub, which makes me wonder, is that pub going to change ownership in the last episode? I mean, Rebecca could always buy it. Keely might have something to do with it. She had a really sweet moment with May. I know a pub isn't really what she does, but I don't know, maybe as an investment or something like that. The three superfans, Baz, Paul, and Jeremy. If you remember, some episodes ago, Jeremy popped up out of nowhere and said, I got a new job. And we don't know what that is, but he had a suit on, and I don't know if that was just a beat for that particular episode, but what's Jeremy doing? Is he going to purchase the pub and the three of them are going to run it together? I think that would be very sweet, and May could be their regular customer, and she still kind of sits there busting their balls or whatever. Like, I feel like that would be a nice way to end that story. Or maybe Higgins buys it and he turns it into an AFC Richmond themed jazz bar. I don't know.
Hello, Stinky.
Number 9, what's going to happen with Sassy Smurf? Another character. Like, this is kind of in the same vein as Ms. Bowen. I really like this character, and I'd love this character to have a really, big, happy ending of this series. And I do think we've seen the last of her in this series, unless Bex, Ms. Cakes, and Rebecca manage to wrench the West Ham United team from Rupert's, cheating fingers, and maybe Sassy shows up at the court case wearing red like she said she was going to do at his funeral. Maybe that is the next best thing. And obviously she could end up with one of the players as well. I think she ended up with... Did she end up with more than one of the players at one point? No, she ended up with 10. But Sassy, she can go with Van Dam.
What? Trent Krim, are you kidding me? Hey, nice to see you, man.
Number 8 is Trent Krim's book. Now, this is kind of a weird one, but I have a bit of a prediction that in the final episode, the last shot is going to be Trent Krim reading an excerpt from his book that's going to be really heartwarming and it's going to make everybody cry. But I would love to hear more about this book and if there's any, not fallout, but like just the reaction and the response to it. Like, I hope we don't end the series not knowing, what the reception to the book was. But the other possibility that I thought of is, will the final episode be a jump forward episode? Will that jump forward like 6 months and we get to see Ted back in the USA and we get to see the players' response to the book or something like that? So I'm just kind of interested in that storyline in general, and I'm interested to see what the outcome is with Trent Krim's book.
Heads up, team, there is an intermission.
Your sister is fit.
I will cut your eyes out.
Number 7 is Jamie and Roy's sister. Are we going to see these two get together? Dr. O'Sullivan is all she's known as at the moment, but I feel like this would be a great way to keep that family connection with Roy and Jamie. Obviously, Roy's with Keely now, and I don't know, it would be a really kind of sweet situation that Jamie becomes Phoebe's stepdad, for one, and that they would all have that built-in family dynamic. I'm very interested to see what happens with Jamie, but especially if he ends up getting with Roy's sister.
There you go, way to play.
How about that, coach?
You hear that, coach? Wait, the same word, ain't it?
Yeah, it's different.
Number 6, will Ted get back with Michelle, and will Beard stay in the UK with Jane? So this is just more about the fate of, you know, the two foreigners, I guess, in this show that are sort of coming into this new world. I don't really like Michelle, and I don't really like Jane, if I'm being completely honest. I think Michelle's actions were like way over a line of a trust thing. Like, that was egregiously immoral, in my opinion. The fact that she was probably seeing this therapist during the therapy, like, that is so gross. And Jane, I don't know, she's a little bit too much. Jane is, I guess the old adage is, you don't take her home to meet your parents, but you go out with her on the weekends, kind of thing. Jane is a lot. I fear for what Beard is going through with Jane Payne, which I don't think is a coincidence that that's her name. But will Beard stay in the UK and just stay with Richmond, or will him and Jane end up traveling on? I'm very excited to see what happens with Coach Beard. I can't see him staying at Richmond if Ted leaves, especially after the last episode. So I don't know if he would just end up being like traveling with Jane. Originally I had that they should move to Holland, but again, after hearing that he stole a loaf of meth, maybe Holland isn't a great place to spend all of his time, maybe just a weekend here or there. And Ted could end up back in the USA coaching his son's soccer team, perhaps. His son seems to be getting pretty into it. Will he coach one of the, the major USA leagues? Does Kansas City have a soccer team? My missus said that she wants Ted to, hang on a second, let me quote this, punch Dr. Smarmy Pants right in the mouth. And I don't know if that's quite in the spirit of the show, but I'd be kind of okay with that, because Ted has really like I say, they have mistreated him something fierce throughout this series, talking about Michelle and Dr. Jacob. And Ted has been so passive and so internal about it. It would be the polar opposite of what that is. And I feel like we got that with Ted's mum and the last episode. That seemed to be Ted really stepping out of his normal personality and into that, kind of hostile sort of space that he had with his mother in the last episode. So maybe we won't get Ted, clobber Dr. Smarmy Pants Jacob, or whatever his name was, but I do think that Dr. Jacob is due for a little bit of karma, so we'll see what happens with him there.
I've realised I no longer care if I beat Rupert.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Just feels like it's ceremonial at this point.
Number 5 is, who will Rebecca end up with, if anybody? I mean, we've got Sam, we've got the boat guy from Holland, or whatever his name is. We've got a premonition that she's going to end up with a family that was foretold. There was a matchbook with the army man pointing at it, so that still indicates Sam. But will she end up with anybody? Because she seems to be in a really good place right now by herself. She's nomming down on kebabs and, making wisecracks, and, Rebecca seems to be, compared to where she was at the start of the series, she seems to be very healed and in a very good place. But I still want to know what her future will hold, and keen for the finale for that.
Of course.
Number 4, how will Rupert get his comeuppance? Another character, a great villain who's definitely got it coming. Karma has got a package with his name all over it, express post, ready for next week. But did Nate blow up Rupert's cheat fest? Is he the source that Trent Krim talked about, that there were, funny business going on over at West Ham. Will Rupert have to sell West Ham? Maybe Rupert will lose West Ham in the divorce to Bex. Maybe Ms. Cakes will now be a part of that whole situation as well. Will he lose custody of their child? I would probably guess so, although he is a silver-haired white man with a ton of cash, so you never know. I mean, I'd love to see him lose West Ham to Bex before the end of the league. So it's Rebecca and Bex fighting it out for the league championship. Two of Rupert's ex-wives. I feel like that would be a pretty swift dose of retribution there for Beck and Rebecca. Rupert's got something coming his way, and I'm pretty keen to see what it is.
Come on, Richmond!
Number 3, who will win the Premier League? So this one probably should have been a bit further down the list in retrospect, but I think at the time of originally writing this list, I wasn't sure what was happening with Nate and West Ham, but now we definitely know that that's well and truly in his rearview mirror. I guess it's got to be Richmond. Like, you can't have West Ham come and win it now. Or will the show throw us a curveball and still have Richmond lose and everybody kind of deals with it in a healthy way? That would be very on brand for the show. So the actual outcome of the league, I think there's still a little bit to be curious about with that.
Currently writing Ted an apology letter. It's 60 pages, but I'm just looking for a few trims. So, 2 seconds there. Oh my god.
Number 2, Nate's apology to Ted. I mean, we know it's coming. That conversation is going to be... I'm here for that conversation. I do feel like Nate flipped on not wanting to go back to Richmond to wanting to go back to Richmond very suddenly, but that doesn't change the fact that I care so much about that relationship between Nate and Ted. I'm so excited to see that get resolved and to see how that all plays out, because they did such a good job with Nate's meltdown. It's one of my favorite parts of the series was Nate's whole arc where things got really, really dark for him. So I know it's going to happen, and I'm here for the heartwarming moment that it's going to be. Could Nate just show up at Ted's house, perhaps, and see that he still has the picture of him up on the little nightstand, on the little side table, or the Lego stand with Nate still in there with everybody else? Could Nate end up just coming back to Richmond and being the kit man again? I mean, it looks like they want him to be the manager, and I guess that's probably what's going to happen, but I'd love to see Nate follow that humble path again of like, you know what? Let me just put some lavender towels out for everybody and we'll call it a day. You know, will Nate end up apologizing to West Ham as well? Because, you know, he was pretty brutal the whole time he was there too. So I feel like they might just kind of sweep that one under the rug a little bit. But I'm very interested in the Nate Shelley Apology Tour 2023 and everybody that he goes and speaks to. Rebecca is probably due a conversation with him as well. Nate the Great, I'm so keen to see what your future holds.
There he is.
And number 1, who will run Richmond, who will coach, and who will leave? So we've touched on a lot of this already, but I think Rebecca is going to give the team to somebody or sell the team. I don't think Rebecca's going to be running the team by the end of the series. I wonder if she's going to gift the whole club to Higgins, because Higgins is a very loyal... what are they called? AFC Richmond fan. He was talking about Freddie Mercury in the last one. Oh, briefly in the 80s, like before Rupert even came along. He loves this team and he's a great character. He's such a deserving character as well. He's got a whole family of kids that he can employ to do every job at the bloody stadium if he wants. And I would love to see Rebecca give the club to Higgins to run it. Will Roy Kent become the head coach or will Nate become the head coach? After the last episode, I feel like it's probably going to be Nate, but Roy's going to be right there with him, and we basically got that confirmed in the last episode that Roy's got no problem with Nate returning to the team. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did something crazy like Will gets promoted to head coach. I mean, if there's anybody who knows a lot about the team and all their deep, dark secrets, it's Will, because he ends up accidentally overhearing every conversation that he shouldn't be hearing. Will Roy retire at the end of the season from coaching and just want to be with Keeley and give another arousing retirement speech? And on the other side of that, will Nate leave football altogether and buy a touch of Athens or something like that? I feel like, or get back into his violin playing, or explore some completely separate endeavor that maybe doesn't trigger his competitiveness quite so much as football does. But some other options on who Rebecca might, sell or give the team to. Maybe Keely ends up running the team. I feel like that would be a nice twist. What if she gave it to Nate? I mean, that may be a little bit of a jump, but I don't know. Like, he seems to know what he's doing. They've established that he's a genius. Maybe this is like a big gesture from Rebecca, but I don't think so. The other one I've got written down here is, what about the three fans? What about Baz, Paul, and Jeremy? Could they run the club? Maybe they should just run May's Bar and, keep it simple for a little while. And will Higgins leave the club and go become a jazz man somewhere and do all that stuff? But the most pressing, urgent, burning, desperate answer that I'm seeking from the Ted Lasso series finale: will somebody finally buy Roy Kent a plastic whistle?
Whistle! Whistle! That's off! Great job!
So that's the list, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about what my actual guesses are. So this is just what I think will actually happen, my honest, predictive opinion based on what the show is and what I've watched and everything like that. So I'm trying to leave my emotional preferences out of this, and this is just purely what I predict will actually happen. So number one, Ted will go back to the USA to coach soccer, and Beard will stay in the UK with Jane. Number two, Rebecca will give the club to Higgins, and she will run off with the boatman. Number three, Nate will return to Richmond and will be on the coaching staff with Roy Kent. Number four, Jamie will end up dating Roy's sister, and Roy will stay with Keely, and they'll all be a big happy family. And number five, Rupert will lose West Ham United to Bex in the divorce, but I think it will happen after the season. If there's a bit of a montage at the end, it might just be something that flashes up. But I definitely think Bex is the new owner of West Ham United. But thank you for checking this one out. Let me know in the comments what your predictions are. I'll probably do a big chat about it as well before the finale. I've got that day off as well, so I should be able to get my finale reaction up really quick, a lot quicker than usual, because usually I wait until I get home in the evening, and then I watch it, and then I edit it, and then it's 11 o'clock at night and I go to bed. Whereas if I'm home, I can watch it at 11 a.m. and get it up an hour or two after the show airs. So hope you're enjoying Ted Lasso Season 3. Again, let me know all your thoughts about this. If you do want to support the channel a bit more, patreon.com/FWCI is where you can do it. As always, everyone, be well, stay safe, look after your friends. See you in the next video. Peace!